Hello everyone. We would be starting with the webinar, and to present the webinar I have Ms. Kavita Trivedi with me and myself Viral Vandre, and we would walk you through a brief introduction about Cygnet GSP. What is GST all about, its implications, the complex written filing flow as a part of GST regime, and thereafter we would have a small demonstration of the Cygnet GSP application that we have built. So to present about Cygnet GSP, I'm handing over the mic to Kavita, and she would walk you through to the presentation.
Hi all, good afternoon. So I'll start with the brief introduction of Cygnet. Cygnet is a 17 years old IT company. It develops customized solution for the clients based on the client's requirement. Cygnet is serving around 250 plus clients. It is having clients around in 29 countries. 80% plus client retention. Founded in year 2000 with offices located across India, Delhi, Pune, Mumbai, Ahmedabad, and various offices in USA, UK, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand. Cygnet is having various membership, NASCOM, IACC, AMA, GSTR.
So basically we are into product engineering, application development, web content management, application quality assurance, and enterprise mobility. These are the core areas where Cygnet focus on, and this is where Cygnet is best at. We also are dealing with products apart from services, and few of the products just to highlight are Cygnet GSP, EPUB Hub, HR Innova, Cygneto, M1 Order, Testing Vs, and eShabd. These are the product lines which Cygnet deals into. So emerging landscapes of GST. So this is basically a brief introduction about at what all areas GST is impacting the ecosystem around any registered taxpayer. So when I talk about ecosystem, it's not only a registered taxpayer who is dealing with the change in VAT structure to GST, but the entire ecosystem are being affected. Like if you are your registered taxpayers, your vendors, customers, everyone are supposed to be in line with GST. They should be GST compliant. They should have their own GSTN numbers in place. They should have GST usernames with them. So what we mean to say is basically the entire ecosystem is being affected with the implementation of GST. Organization readiness is one of the key factors, because if you would be dealing with GST implementation, in that case your organization should be ready in following areas: supply chain, logistics, pricing, working capital, inventory. These are just to highlight the few of them. Its major impact in various areas would be dictated further in the coming slides. IT infrastructure, which stands as a major backbone for any registered taxpayer with respect to their current ERP systems or accounting systems. Those accounting systems would require to be GST compliant. Some of the leading ERP systems are already coming out with GST patches. And even if you are an ASP, that is, you have a full-fledged software development capabilities, you are application service providers, and you are able to manage everything with respect to preparation of the data for filing the returns, you would still need to go with one of the GSPs in order to file the return. So your IT infrastructure should be well aligned, such that in case if you wish to file returns via any GSPs or Cygnet GSP, both the IT infrastructure should be well aligned.
So organization readiness and IT infrastructure should go hand in hand. One needs to analyze how the GST will affect any organization in terms of supply chain and everything. and at the same time selection of GSP is also important, and whatever impact analysis is done, based on that IT infrastructure should be changed. Another point very important is vendor should be GST compliant. If vendors are not GST compliant, then once ITC would be affected, and accordingly their working capital would be affected to a great extent. So impact of GST on IT system. One is the invoice format. So till date it was a tax invoice and retail invoice. Now it would be tax invoice and bill of supply. Till date it was service tax and excise registration. Now it is GSTN or UIN. HSN SSC code is very important under GST regime, because till date while filing the return filing was done at a invoice level. Under GST it is at a HSN or SSC level. So updation of HSN code and service code is very important under GST regime. Rate of CGST, SGST, IGST and UTGST. Till date we used to mention excise rate, VAT rate and service tax rate. In that place now it will replace by CGST, SGST, IGST and UTGST. Place of delivery, where it is different from place of supply, as per the invoice rules rolled out by government, place of delivery has to be mentioned in the invoice. If reverse charge is applicable, that also has to be mentioned in the invoice.
Yeah, so as Kavita said, as GST is the destination based tax, place of supply would play a major role in deciding the invoice formats and inputting the place of supplies with regards to any invoice that is supplied to the customer. Vendor master and revenue master, that would undergo changes. Vendor masters, again, as Kavita walked you through, there would be a state-wise GSTN mentioned for each and every vendor, and addresses if they have more than one branches. Reverse charges, if applicable, should be well defined. Any exemptions should be well defined. Revenue master, we will have SGST, CGST, IGST and UTGST in place, apart from VAT, excise, etc. Stock transfer master. Stock transfer master stock transfer is now attracting GST. So even if you are doing stock transfer within your branches or any registered warehouses, it would basically attract GST.
Purchase order and sales order has to be in line with invoice format to make it legitimate. Customer master has to be updated. So till date your vendors and customers, till date it was a centralized registration, so your vendor and customer must be having single registration under service tax. Now under GST regime, for each state separate registration is required. So if your vendors and customers are going for a separate registration, their entire data, entire master has to be updated in your IT system, and accordingly whether reverse charge is applicable to that particular GSTIN or not, and exemption is applicable to that particular customer or vendor or not, has to be updated. Expense GL master. So till now it was a VAT, service tax and excise rate and amount. Now in that place it would be CGST, SGST, IGST, rate and amount has to be mentioned. Goods and service master, as I mentioned previously, updation of HS and SSC code under GST regime is very important, because invoice filing would be done at the HS and SSC level. So updation of this field is very important.
There are few returns that requires to be filed by any registered taxpayer. To mention, these are few of them initially for which government has published the APIs for, and there are other returns pertaining to other type of registrations, like registration regarding e-commerce operators, tax deductors at source. As an input service distributor, you require to file returns 6, 7 and 8 respectively. So these all returns are also in place, but just to provide you with an overview about each type of return that forms a part of GST. GSTR1 requires to be filed by supplier, so it is nothing but it is the details of outward supplies of taxable goods and services, which requires to be filed by supplier by 10th of every month. GSTR2A is an auto-populated return. It is auto-populated return, and it furnishes, or it portrays all the outward supplies that your supplier has filed, and that would be an inward to you. So these are the details of all the inward supplies made available to the recipient. So if you are a recipient and you are viewing GSTR 2A, you will view details of all the inward supplies made available to you based on the GSTR 1 filed by your suppliers. Our application will automatically download this GSTR 2A and reconcile it with your purchase register. GSTR 2 is the return which requires to be filed by the recipients. So as it requires to be filed by recipients, all the details of your inward supplies for taxable goods and services on which you wish to claim your input tax credit would go into GSTR 2. GSTR 1A is details of all the outward supplies as added, corrected, or deleted by the recipient. So whatever actions buyer takes during the reconciliation before filing GSTR 2 and after downloading data from GSTR 2A, what all data which has discrepancies that would require to be taken into action by supplier in GSTR 1A, they would take action such as accept, reject, and put invoices on hold in GSTR 1A. So basically in GST regime, supplier is the ultimate king who is the ultimate decision making authority, that what things would be filed and what goes into the monthly return. Form GSTR3. GSTR3 is the monthly return which requires to be filed by any registered taxpayer by 20th of every month. Reconciliation is done from 11th to 15th. GSTR2 requires to be filed by 15th. Yeah. These are few of the ways you can basically get along with Cygnet with regards to filing of returns. This is how you can get along with Cygnet GSP. There are two ways to get along with Cygnet GSP. One is using Cygnet GSP portal and Cygnet on-premise utility. So from either of the ways, Cygnet GSP application basically assumes 9 type of uploads into the application, 4 uploads for outward supplies and 5 uploads for inward supplies. These 4 uploads for outward supplies are those which are required to file GSTR 1 by the supplier. 5 uploads of inward supplies are the ones which any registered taxpayer would require to file GSTR 2. Once both the imports are basically imported into the application, we have built a built-in rule engine. This rule engine intelligently identifies the data imported into the application and segregates those data into respective sections of GSTR 1 and GSTR 2. Now, if you had a chance to look at GSTR 1 or 2, those returns are assuming approximately about 14 to 15 sections that required to be furnished. To manually input all the data into these sections is might be too much cumbersome for a registered taxpayers. So rule engine takes care of the majority of the things. It simply processes the data and segregates the data into appropriate sections of the return. Even if you have a custom rule engine developed at your place, you have a full-fledged software development capabilities, you are an ASP and you have a custom rule engine built on your place, still you can connect with Cygnet GSP, utilize our plain vanilla pass-through API, connect with the API on the Cygnet gateway and file returns for you.
So one point I would like to add here, if one wishes to go for a direct integration of Cygnet GSP solution where one doesn't want to upload these Excel sheets XL or CSV or JSON format, then Cygnet also provides an option whereby data will be called from this client system, SAP, ERP or Oracle, and then it will be pushed to the respective section of GSTR 1 and 2. So it will not include even manual intervention to the extent of extracting the data from client system and then uploading this data into Cygnet GSP portal.
Yeah, so to add on to Kavita's point, we have built a utility which assumes the raw data export from the SAP. It converts the raw data into appropriate formats required by Cygnet GSP utility, and that would reside on the client server. There would be one more utility which will pick up the data in our formats, that is exported by the SAP utility that we have built. It would serve as an input, and basically it would pick up the data from the client server location and put the data into our application. So these are the two utilities that takes care of the import structure. Return filing flow. So we talked about GSTR 1, 2A, 2, 1A, and filing of GSTR 3. As a supplier would file GSTR 1. Once the supplier files GSTR 1, file GSTR 2A would be available to you as a recipient, which will contain the data of all the data filed by your suppliers in GSTR 1. Application will download all the data from GSTR 2A and reconcile it with the purchase register. Here, the recipient would be able to take various actions on the data populated after reconciliation which have discrepancies. They would be able to put any invoices or credit debit notes on hold, add, reject, modify, or push any new invoices into the return. In case if the supplier has not filed or have missed any invoices, they can claim ITC and push new invoices to the return. Once the reconciliation is done, again the rule engine comes into picture, which will identify the data, which data requires to move to which section of the GSTR2, and the recipient would be able to file GSTR2. Once the recipient files GSTR2, all the discrepancies or all the actions that recipient has taken during the reconciliation process, all those data again would be made available to the supplier in GSTR 1A, where they would be able to accept, reject all the data and also put on hold, and the supplier would be able to file GSTR 1A. Now they may or may not file GSTR 1A. If they file GSTR 1A, in that case the GSTR 1 filed by him during this month would stay amended, and all the corrected details would be populated in GSTR 3. If they do not file GSTR 1A, in this case all the detail which is rectified or on which the supplier has taken action on, that would be auto populated in the next month's GSTR 1 return in the appropriate section. Once the flow is completed, a registered taxpayer should file GSTR 3. Now, as per the rule of the government, GSTR 3 is termed valid only when any balance tax payable is paid to the government and a proper challan number is received. Until then, if he files GSTR 3 and does not pay tax, he would not be able to file the monthly return of the subsequent month. He requires to file the return of the current month first, and thereafter he would be able to file the return of the subsequent month. After filing GSTR 3, all the discrepancies that has taken place between the supplier and the recipient would be auto-populated in the ITC mismatch report, which a buyer and a supplier is expected to resolve in the next month. This is pretty much of what we talked about. This is how you can connect to the Cygnet GSP environment. So There are three ways basically how you can connect to us. The first way being you can simply register yourself or subscribe to the Cygnet GSP portal, wherein register with the Cygnet ASP, wherein you can utilize our portal and have the API access. Here you can import all the data using Excel spreadsheet, CSV, or you can directly map your columns in the Cygnet application, or directly make API calls. Our enriched rule engine will take care of the everything, validations, segregation of data into appropriate sections of the returns. All these things would be taken care of by the enriched rule engine that we have built. It will communicate with the GSP pass-through API and help you file the returns. The second way being, if you have a full-fledged capability of developing the enriched rule engine which Cygnet GSP has, you can directly register with the Cygnet ASP GSP portal and simply utilize the pass-through API and file returns. The third way being the on-premise Cygnet ASP GSP solution. So in case if your organization policy does not allow you to expose your data out of your environment, we can install the Cygnet on-premise ASP GSP solution at your premises. The solution is nothing but the entire capability of the Cygnet GSP portal that we have currently built. You can make use of the entire capabilities developed by the Cygnet there on your premises, and you should obtain the on-premise licenses absolutely. Here anything with regards to security audit and any liabilities that makes as a part of a GSP, that would be applicable for you, and you will simply utilize GSP pass-through API and you will be able to file your returns.
Okay, so these are the features of Cygnet GSP solution. One is validation engine through which client's data will be validated. Like say for example, if there is an interstate transaction and the client has mentioned CGST and SGST, our system will throw an error showing that this is an interstate transaction, so IGST should be applicable, not CGST and SGST. So we try and make sure that your data is flawless before you go and actually file the return. Second is rule engine. As Viral mentioned, through rule engine with minimal upload into Excel or CSV or JSON format, data will be populated into respective section of GSTR 1 and 2. There are around 14-15 sections of GSTR 1 and 2 each. So one need not to go and mention the data into each and every section. If you refer GSTR 1, there are various sections like B2B transaction, B2C transaction. It is divided into interstate, intrastate, and more than 2.5 lakh value, less than 2.5 lakh value, and so on. If one does this exercise manually, it involves so much of effort, and there are higher chances of error. So we minimize every such thing, and with our rule engine, your data will be populated into respective section of GSTR 1 and 2. If one goes with a direct integration, in that case calling of API, through API only data will be extracted from your system and will be divided into respective section of GSTR 1 and 2. Ways to access, as Viral mentioned, one can access to GSP portal through various means. One is using Cygnet GSP portal, that is a web-based solution. So credentials will be provided to the client and one can just log in and file the return. Second is mobile app. Cygnet is also coming with a mobile app with limited features through which reconciliation and every such thing, or sending of reminders to the clients, and with many other features. Third is on-premise. In on-premise solution, your data will stay at your environment.
So the data will stay at your environment, and you would be able to file returns by communicating to the Cygnet GSP gateway. In this case, you would be communicating to the pass-through API hosted on the Cygnet GSP gateway, and you would be able to file your returns. Enrich API is nothing but whatever application you would be viewing while we would be demonstrating. The entire application have been exposed as an Enrich API. So in case if you want to build your own UI uh, and enhance your existing application, you can make use of the API provided by us, and you can make utilization of the Enrich API. Pass-through API is nothing but the plain vanilla API provided by the government in order to file returns. So again, if you are a ASP, if you are an ASP and you have all the required development done at your end for preparation of the returns, and you would simply like to connect to the Cygnet GSP to file returns, you can make use of our pass-through API and get your returns filed. Reconciliation process is the two-stage reconciliation process that any registered taxpayer has to follow as a recipient and as a supplier. This is pretty much of what I walked you through during the return filing flow. Audit logs. We are supposed to maintain the audit logs for the period of about 7 years, and who did what and at what time. All these things are logged into the Cygnet GSP application. Email and SMS notifications. We would be sending reminder emails and SMS notification for filing of each return. We have deadlines now for filing of each of the return, so we would be sending the reminder emails and SMS notifications. Also on demand of email and SMS services would be available. So in case if you wish to disable any particular email or the SMS that goes out to you, you would be pretty much be able to do so.
If one wants to send an email and SMS notification to their vendor and customer, informing the mismatches, that can also be done through this email and SMS notification feature.
Let's suppose you are subscribed with the Cygnet GSP, and you have a group of companies wherein your group of companies are basically having the different line of businesses. In this case, you can pretty well manage the different line of business in the Cygnet GSP application and allocate the registered branches or locations to the appropriate businesses. We are also providing a fully dynamic dashboard which will provide any registered taxpayers with the monthly view of the pending returns, current month return filing progress, and also business-wise single snapshot of invoices uploaded or filed. So these are pretty much the information that we provide on the dashboard. We are still under development, and we will be coming out with pretty more exciting widgets. Bulk import of your data is pretty much possible with the Cygnet GSP application, and we assume the data in Excel, CSV, and JSON formats. You can send across the data in any one of the format, and our application will absorb the same. Users and user roles. So once you are subscribed to the Cygnet GSP application and you have created your business hierarchy inside the application, you can create various roles, allocate those roles to different users, and allocate those roles to the different users based on the different locations. So location wise and user wise, providing roles and rights inside the application is pretty much possible. It is completely a roles and rights based application. So a key takeaways, these are pretty much of the questions which any registered taxpayer would have to question to themselves. Have you consulted your chartered accountant and tax consultants on GST compliance? Have you approached a GST Suvidha provider? Are your vendors and customers GST compliant? Have you reviewed GST impact on your supply chain, logistics, pricing, and other areas? Are your accounting applications GST compliant? If you haven't questioned this, and if you haven't got answers to this, please make sure to get yourself quite acquainted on the answers regarding these questions and get yourself aligned to the GST regime. So this was pretty much it with regards to the presentation. Now we would be walking you through the Cygnet GSP application demo, a glimpse of it. We would start the demo just within a minute or two. Give us a moment, please. Okay, so we are providing you the glimpse of the Cygnet GSP application. I would be walking you through the entire Cygnet GSP application. Any registered taxpayer can basically log into the application utilizing their email ID, password, and CAPTCHA. CAPTCHA is pretty much necessary to log into the application. So yeah, once a taxpayer logs into the application, they would have a view of the fully dynamic dashboard. These are some of the widgets that would be visible to the taxpayer. One is ledger balance as on date, differentiated by CGST, SGST, IGST. What is their liability? What is the balance available in their cash ledger? Any input tax credit available with them, and the total balance. In case if you are registered with the Cygnet GSP application, you have subscribed, then you would be able to view your subscription status and how many transactions you have made, how many businesses you have created, how many locations you have created, number of users by month. So these are all the locations. A little drop down that you are visualizing above. So basically, if you are a registered taxpayer and you are handling the multiple locations for filing the returns, you can simply change the location from the above drop down and you would be able to file returns. Monthly return status, you would be able to view the what all months returns are filed and what all months returns are pending. Current return status, let's suppose you are a registered taxpayer and you are registered yourself as an e-commerce operator too, and you are also supposed to file GSTR 1, 2, and 3. In this case, this widget would let you know how many returns are filed by you and which all returns are pending to be filed. So this was the dynamic dashboard. Based on your registration type, you are enrolled with the Cygnet GSP. You would be able to view appropriate menus here. So as a supplier, you would be able to view outward and inward data and also import the data for GSTR 1, 2, and 3. Similarly, for the other registration types, you would be able to manage imports. Now I would walk you through how basically the import is happening at the Cygnet GSP application level. So suppliers menu, the outward import that you are currently viewing on the screen, the invoices, credit, debit notes, advance payments, and invoices issued. These all imports are pertaining to filing of GSTR 1. So these are the details of your outward supplies. Your supply register would require to be imported here into this four formats. The inward supplies that you are viewing here are the ones which are required to file your GSTR 2. So in order to file GSTR 2, we are assuming four type of imports: invoices, credit, debit notes, IST credits, advance payments under RCM, ITC reversal, correction. Those are five type of imports. On clicking invoices, you would be able to view the list of invoices already imported into the application. You would be able to search invoices based on the GSTIN, UIN, recipient, name of recipient, invoice number, and place of supply. So you would be able to search them. You would be able to filter them by month, status. You can view amendment data. You can download it in CSV format. You can delete them. You can click on upload. Once you click on upload, you would be asked for which month do you wish to import the file for. You can select a month. You can also decide whether you wish to push the data to GSTN on finishing the upload. So if this checkbox is checked, it will push all the data to GSTN. You can browse your file, and once you have selected the file, the columns available on the left hand side are the ones which are required to file GSTR1. So these are the columns which are pretty much available in any ERP application once they would be GST compliant. And the columns on the right hand side are the columns which are furnished in your Excel spreadsheet. So any taxpayer would require to do this exercise once. The next time you import your Excel spreadsheet, the application will intelligently identify the column names, and you would be able to upload the data. Once you click on upload, our application will validate the data imported by you, and in case if anything is not as per the compliance, it would ask you to correct it. Proper validation messages will be furnished, and once you validate your data, you would be able to download your corrected report. In case if you wish to get aligned with your accounting application or the ERP application data, you would be pretty much be able to do so by downloading the error report from here. On clicking of update and finish upload, all the data would be successfully imported into the application. So as a supplier, we have uploaded our output invoices, and I will be showing you for filing of GSTR1. Your GSTIN, the name of the taxable person, and the aggregate turnover which you have furnished while you are subscribed to the Cygnet GSP application and you have registered your location in the application. All these things would be auto-populated. You would be able to edit the aggregate turnover here in the return. From the next time, it would be auto-populated and uneditable. You can select the month for which you wish to file the return for. As we talked about the rule engine, any data that are imported into the application would be segregated by the rule engine into the appropriate section. The application intelligently identifies those data, and it will fill out the appropriate sections of the return. One would require to mention the place where he's filing the return, browse the digital certificate, and the certificate password would be required, and along with the certificate and certificate password, one would also require to furnish their PAN numbers. On clicking file button, the application would ask for an OTP. The OTP would come to that particular mobile number which was used to register themselves to the GST portal. On entering the OTP and clicking on submit, the return would be successfully filed, and the acknowledgement number would be received from the GST portal. The acknowledgement number which you are seeing currently is the acknowledgement number received by our application from the GST portal using the sandbox API provided by them. Once GSTR1 is filed, one can do reconciliation. You can reconcile your invoices. So there are two sections which are made available to the registered taxpayers. One is match record section and another one is mismatch record section. The data which are filed by your suppliers and are matching exactly with your inward supplies or your purchase register without any discrepancies would move to the match record section, and the data with the discrepancies will move to the mismatch record section. Now in the mismatch record sections, we have three scenarios. One, the data is filed by your supplier but not available in your purchase register. You can mark the invoices on hold or accept or reject them. You can also basically email any discrepancies to the supplier in this case. You can claim any tax credit if you wish to do from here. Another section is not available in GSTN server. That is, your supplier has not filed the data, but it is available in your purchase register. You can add, reject the data from here. Mismatch in invoices. In case if the data is filed by your supplier and it is also lying in your purchase register, but it has an amount mismatch, you can modify those data from here. And once you modify the data, you can save those data and you can finish the reconciliation. So this is the reconciliation process that any buyer can go for. Once the reconciliation is done, again the rule engine will come into picture and it would segregate the data on appropriate sections. One would require to portray the place of filing the return, upload your digital certificate, input the certificate password and the PAN number. And they can successfully file the return. On clicking file, again the OTP would be asked and the taxpayer would require to furnish the OTP. Currently, we are not able to view the filing of GSTR2 return with the acknowledgement number because the sandbox API is not provided by the government to us for testing purpose. As a supplier, you would be able to view the 1A. Again, as a supplier, you would be able to keep your invoices on hold, accept or reject the same. Or in case of unhappy path, you would be able to add any extra invoices that are not filed by your buyer from your supply register. This section would only be available in case if the return filing process has been initiated by any one of your recipient before you. Else only the above section would be available. You can finish the GSTR 1A and you would be able to file 1A. So you would be able to file the return 1A also. All the data would be populated here in the appropriate section if in case if any available, and file the 1A return. Once the 1A is filed, a taxpayer would require to file GSTR 3. You would be able to select the month and like you have filed GSTR 1 and 2, you would be able to file GSTR 3. We have also already developed the import as well as return filing for GSTR 8, waiting for government to furnish the APIs. And we have also developed the rule engine for the same. And we are up with the GSTR 8, 7, and 6 for e-commerce operators, tax deductors at source, and also any input service distributors. So we have already developed the 8, 7, and 6 thing. Yeah, we would be happy to answer your queries, and give us a moment, and we would be live with answering your queries. Give us a moment, please. Okay, so we have basically a couple of questions from our audiences, and we would love to answer them right now. First question was by Mr. Hiren Pathak. If seller show one invoice but purchaser denies, uh, then whether seller is required to pay the tax? Yes. So if I suppose this is with regards to the reconciliation process where purchaser is denying this the invoice filed by the supplier. In this case, as the invoice is already filed by the supplier in GSTR 1, that would add as a tax liability to him already. So whether the buyer rejects it or accept it, seller would have to pay the tax liability for the same. But if the buyer rejects the same and again the supplier accepts his rejection, in this case no discrepancies would be made. Also the tax liability would not be applicable to the seller. But in case if the seller rejects the buyer's rejection, in this case those discrepancies regarding the invoice would appear in the ITC mismatch report, which the seller and buyer will have to get rectified in the next month. Can we get the video of today's session by Mr. Pawan Sharma? Definitely. You would be able to get the all the recorded webinar would be made available to the audiences. Whether CGST credit can be transferred at IGST and SGST credit to other state being ISD. Give me a moment, please. This is again by Mr. Hiren Pathak. Whether CGST credit can be transferred as IGST and SGST credit to other state being ISD. This is question by Mr. Hiren Pathak. This is a really nice question. Your CGST credit can definitely be utilized as an IGST credit, but if you are falling into other state, that means you have a separate registration and you would not be able to transfer the CGST credit of one state to the IGST credit of the other. Kavita would like to add into it.
So CGST credit can definitely be adjusted against CGST and IGST. And second thing is SGST credit to other state being ISD. So in this case, as the state would be different, one needs to go for a separate registration. So this scenario would not be very practical, because in any case one needs to go for a separate registration if the state gets changed.
Yes. So different GSTINs, the credits would not be transferable. Final format of returns is notified. This is asked by Mr. C.A. Chandra Vijay Shah. No, the final format of returns is still not notified. The rules are being drafted, the APIs are getting changed, and the final draft formats are still to be provided by the government. Do we require ASP? This is a question by Mr. Amit. So if you are an ASP, Mr. Amit, in this case you would require to connect to GSP in order to file the returns. And if you are not an ASP and you are not willing to make changes to your application, but your application is simply GST compliant and you require to have the full functionalities like reconciliation, validations, etc. In this case, you would require to get connected to someone like Cygnet GSP which provides an application which is both ASP as well as GSP application. Do you have ASP solution also? Yes, the application which we showed to you, Mr. Amit, is both ASP as well as GSP application. We simply assume the import of data in our formats from the ERP application, and the data should be GST compliant. If you have ASP solution, will it be integrated with SAP HANA? As I just said, we have already built a utility which assumes the import of data from the SAP in an Excel sheet format. That would be the raw data, and it would convert those raw data input into the output formats required by the Cygnet GSP application. Regarding integration, we would like to have more clarity on your questions. If you can email me about that questions in more detail, what kind of integrations you are looking at and what is exactly the scope of integration you are looking at, Mr. Amit, we would love to answer them and we would love to get connected with you. I'm a tax consultant in Varanasi. Currently, I have been filing in case I want to have in my office for GST compliance. This is the query by Mr. SSP Rastogi. Mr. Rastogi, I believe this is your question. You are a tax consultant in Varanasi and you are filing the returns manually. In case if you wish to get associated with Cygnet, then what kind of IT infrastructure and human resource do you need to have in your office for being GST compliant? What we would say is, if you are filing returns for your company, if you have multiple branches across India, that is your tax consultancy firm, and if you wish to file returns for your firm, in this case you can get enrolled and subscribe to our Cygnet GSP portal, and you don't need to have any IT infrastructure apart from just a PC supporting a proper bandwidth. You can subscribe onto the Cygnet GSP portal, utilize our application, and bring in all the data which you require to file for a particular registered branch or a location in an Excel sheet format or a CSV format. And like I walked you through in the demonstration, you can import those Excel sheet formats into the application and file your returns. Everything would be automated. In case if you have if you file returns on behalf of various other businesses, you can ask those businesses to get enrolled with the Cygnet GSP solution. Those businesses can send you an invitation from within the Cygnet GSP portal, and based on the invitation sent by various businesses, you would also be able to file returns for your businesses for which you are currently filing the returns manually. In case you have any more queries with regards to getting connected to us, please feel free to send us more questions. We would love to answer your questions and we will get connected. What are your subscription fees? The subscription fees basically depends upon how you wish to get along with Cygnet GSP. So again, what we can do, Mr. Rastogi, is we can send you a questionnaire, and once you send us the filled in questionnaire back, we can provide you with the absolute commercials with the same. Give us a moment, please.
Okay, second question is from Mr. Bhavesh Taylor. In case of cash transaction, is tax will be applicable? If yes, then who will pay the tax, buyer or supplier? So we'll divide this question into two parts. One is B2B transaction and second is B2C transaction. If that is B2B transaction, then of course tax will be collected from the buyer and it will be paid to the government. If it is B2C transaction and the person is unregistered, you are purchasing from the unregistered person, then reverse charge would be applicable and you need to pay tax onto that to the government.
The next question is again by Mr. Hiren Pathak. This is pretty much of the same question which we answered, I suppose, regarding transferable of IGST credit to the other state as an ISD. The next question is by Mr. Raj Narayan Jha. Could you please send us the quotation to us? Definitely, we can send the questionnaire to all the people who have subscribed to us, and once we get the questionnaire filled up by you, we can share the commercials with you. The next question by Mr. Arun Kumar Tiwari. Utilization procedure for import IGST values if we have intrastate sale only, that is SGST, CGST only. Okay. So if you are dealing with only CGST and IGST, you just need to furnish your IGST and CGST rate and amount inside the import formats that you would be supplying to us. You need not furnish the IGST values applicable. In case if the question is different.
Okay, so I think Mr. Tiwari is asking if utilization is possible of IGST against CGST and SGST. Yes, IGST can be adjusted against CGST or SGST. Your CGST balance can be adjusted against CGST and SGST against SGST. So in this case, your IGST balance can be adjusted against CGST and SGST both.
Kindly send the video of webinar on hiren@cmsha.com, Mr. Hiren Pathak. What are the changes to be made? Okay, Mr. Hiren Pathak, I am CA and I have a tax software that will also provide me GST support. Whether being ASP is different than this arrangement? Yes, this will only make your application GST compliant, but the entire reconciliation and validations which are required to file a return that we just walked you through, that would not be possible. This will just make your application GST compliant. The next question is by Mr. Bhavesh Taylor. If I want to be ASP, what will the charges to your API? Again, Mr. Bhavesh, if you send us the list of queries, the way you wish to connect to us with regards to your API, whether you are willing to build your own UI on top of your existing application, you can send us the email. We will answer your query. And yeah, so we will all get connected to you. In case if you have more queries, please feel free to email us and we would be happy to answer all your queries. Thank you all for being there. Thank you all for standing beside Cygnet for the webinar purpose. And in case if you wish to get connected with the Cygnet, feel free to get connected with us. Send any more emails to us, and for the ones who has asked quotations from us and commercials, we will send you a questionnaire. We will look forward to your inputs on the questionnaire, and we will send you the commercials as well. Thank you all. This is Viral Vandre signing off. And
thank you all. This is Kavita Trivedi signing off.